Hey heroes, Cole's here. Today I'm going to be going through the best heroes for Hero Clash in Heroes vs. Hordes. Hero Clash is like the only game mode where you actually go head to head against other heroes. Because it only occurs every other week and you get a limited amount of tokens, reaching those stretch goals of Lionheart, Circuit Breaker, or Forge tokens for your favorite hero takes a long time. That said, if you can climb higher in the leagues faster, you'll reach those breakpoints much sooner. And so today, I'll go through the heroes that allow you to do that. Now, I only have 3 buckets for Hero Clash, because most of the time you only actually want to use like one hero. And if you have one, you can get basically all the way to League 11. I'll go into detail on the S and A heroes, and I'll just throw all the other don't bothers into one giant category. But I'll explain why each category exists, and I'll go into more detail into the more important heroes. I'll also give you some breakdowns on the 3 most important builds that you can build in Hero Clash. Some of these heroes can beat all of Hero Clash without a Forge and only 3-star levels. And then there are heroes with the 5-star Forge and 4-star levels that just basically put this on farm mode. First up is Steam Golem. He's a true don't bother. On the heels of one of the worst heroes, it might actually be the best hero for Hero Clash, and that is Dark Mage. The Dark Mage at 5-star Forge does an unbelievable amount of damage. They've been fixing bugs in her and she's still OP. Now, the thing with the Dark Mage to note is that it takes the 5-star Forge B side, or the right side, that causes Horde that have died to explode, doing additional damage to more Horde. Combine that with the fact that her skills are AoE and remain on the battlefield for extended periods of time without the need for cooldown, and you have one of the strongest heroes in Hero Clash. Now, cooldown and prolonged area of effect are going to be key to Hero Clash, and so you're going to hear that come up mostly in these best heroes. Because the cooldown cap is only 40%, having heroes with skills or with abilities that aren't reliant on cooldown make them particularly strong in this game mode. There's a string of heroes in Nutcracker, Inkbot, Living Forge that are all basically the same, not very strong in Hero Clash. Now, maybe at higher star Forges and higher star levels they'd be perfectly fine, but for the average player playing with like a 3-star hero with maybe a 5-star Forge, they're not very strong. Shield Warden is an interesting case. You can build him really defensively, which I'll go over more later, and survive through the whole encounter. That'll give you a pretty good shot of winning against even higher power score targets. Echo, Frost Wizard, Spirit Shaman, Crazy Tinkerer, these are all examples of people that you probably don't want to be using in Hero Clash. The interesting thing about Lionheart is that he's part of the Warriors Guild, and the Warriors Guild has great hero camp bonuses from heroes like Shield Warden and Knight, which makes everyone in their camp actually pretty strong in Hero Clash. Next up, I have Oracle. Oracle is great for Hero Clash because of the way that her orbs stay on the battlefield. She's one of these heroes that you don't need a Forge for, and only probably need about 3 stars before you can start pushing most of the leagues in Hero Clash. Now, with a 5-star Forge, she becomes much stronger as that continuous AoE gets much larger and does more damage. So I always go back to making Oracle a really strong hero because she's so strong in the early game, needing only 3-star levels and only partially forged up in order to clear out most of hard mode, and in this case, a lot of Hero Clash. I personally have not seen any strong players play Reaper, or Leprechaun, or Scroll Sage, or Fire Mage, or Frost Queen. Bunny is an interesting case. Bunny is one of the top-end, high-end damage dealers in the game. Unfortunately, he doesn't do a ton of AoE, and he is CD capped, but he falls off against some other heroes in later leagues. Sentry Specialist takes too long to ramp. Puppeteer I have not been all that impressed with in Hero Clash. Trapper I've seen some decent ones, so he might be a low A, but I'm going to throw him in don't bother. Energy Mage is not someone you want to use in Hero Clash, neither is Pirate Queen. Arcane Mage you shouldn't be using ever. Crystal Mantra is an interesting case. At 4-star levels, she's very, very strong, but she doesn't have a Forge, and so her cap is relatively limited. If you end up having her, and you have her at 4-star levels for whatever reason, she's actually pretty strong because of the way that her ult works in Hero Clash. Santa is someone you don't want to use in Hero Clash, neither is Rocket Pilot. Grave Scraper, Slime Sage you should never use. Glacial Sentinel, not somebody for Hero Clash, but I've been avoiding her and I'll go right to her now, is the Clockwork Mage. And yet another reason why I think the Clockwork Mage is one of the best heroes in the game. She's absolutely fantastic at Hero Clash. She's the one that I used without a Forge at 3-star levels to continuously get League 11. That means I was clearing out all of Hero Clash with an unforged 3-star Clockwork Mage. I don't know what more you can want in this game mode than that. Now I know some people, like Mosin, think that Clockwork Mage is totally overrated, and I'm the one making her totally overrated, but she just beats everything! So you can't be overrated if you're actually effective. At least that's my opinion. Ronin Blossom you don't want to worry about. Snake Emperor actually does a whole ton of damage, and I imagine at higher forges and higher star levels, he's actually pretty good in Hero Clash. Barbarian's kind of like a weaker version of Bunny. He's okay in Hero Clash. But then we got Necromancer, and Necromancer is an S tier hero in Hero Clash. And this is where we can start to talk about defensive builds in detail. Again, your goal in Hero Clash is essentially to get 1 kill more than your opponent. And Necromancer will allow you to do that. You can build incredibly defensive and tanky on him and still win. The big thing here is that his weapon evolves off of Life Tome, which is something you want to take in Hero Clash anyway when you're building defensive. So there's no tome loss there. You can combine that with Armor Tome, and you have the makings for incredibly tanky minions that'll just allow you to outlast your opponent. Because the minions run on their own internal cooldown system, and they remain on the battlefield, he can actually put out the same amount of damage as he would in other game modes, making him one of the premier heroes for this game mode. Gladiator I don't see being great in Hero Clash. Bombardier and Hoplite are not fantastic heroes generally. Pumpkin Shade maybe at high forges and high star levels isn't bad. And same thing with Plague Keeper, he's kind of like a weaker version of the Snake Emperor. And now we're going to come up on some highlight heroes. The first is Artificer. Artificer, much like the Oracle, has a weapon that remains on the battlefield independent of cooldown. Now, the typical build that I build for somebody like Artificer revolves around projectile speed and area of effect. Area of effect tome is actually your biggest priority, followed by damage tome. You then want to get bombs and fire orbs, and that's what you want to use from the base set of weapons. You can follow that up with duplicator tome, armor tome, projectile speed tome, or life tome. So you get a bunch of damage and you can go a little bit tanky in case you get hit. But you're looking for anything with AoE. But for someone like Warlord, you're going pure defensive. A 5-star Forge Warlord at 4-star levels can beat basically any other hero in Hero Clash. I have like 500 to 600 million power score, and I could easily beat 1.5 billion to 1.6 billion power score heroes using Warlord. The key to the Warlord is he gets all of his damage from blood pools from his 5-star Forge. He combines that with his skill Wide Swing to do most of his damage, and both of those are cooldown independent. They just remain on the battlefield, and in the particular case of Wide Swing, the cooldown is actually reduced by being hit. So you build him tanky. He can heal up any damage he does take through his Forge, and then procs Wide Swing even more, and is clearly the best hero that all the top contenders typically use in Hero Clash. So a hero like Clockwork Mage will allow you to beat Hero Clash, but a hero like Warlord will let you push for like the #1 overall ranking in the world, depending on how into this thing you actually get. Doing another fast forward here, Dragon Empress is not very good in Hero Clash. Neither is Void Raven, Bavarian, Dark Ranger, Chicken Little, Blade Master, Big Game Hunter, Circuit Breaker. Swarmmancer is actually an interesting case in Hero Clash. One of the newer heroes, he's actually quite strong in Hero Clash if you can get him all the way forged up. That'll make a lot of his skills remain on the battlefield for a long period of time, and taking advantage of AoE is a nice combination for pushing Hero Clash. Werebeast is an interesting case. Like most of the other heroes in the Warriors Guild, he's incredibly tanky, and so you can go for that tanky build, and then supplement it with damage as best you can, and just outlast and outsurvive your opponents. Now, he's not nearly as strong as some of the other S tier heroes, but I think he's somewhere in the low S tier. Dark Paladin is a very strong hero in Hero Clash. You're going to need him all the way forged up to make him work, but the fact that he has scaling armor goes with the theme of being incredibly tanky, and then his 5-star Forge just gives him a whole ton of slows and stuns in order to outlast and outdamage his opponents. Now, he's probably not the best hero in Hero Clash, but a high A, low S ranking is somewhere where I would think you could place a well forged up Dark Paladin. Tide Warden is not somebody you're really using in Hero Clash, neither is Rosemother, Monk. Stormborn, again, probably not worth talking too much about, but I think he could be a low A type hero in Hero Clash. Geomancer you're not going to be using in Hero Clash, neither are you going to be using Paladin or Runemaster. Now these last four are kind of interesting. Astral Mage is a very strong hero overall, and the fact that you can combine her shield with hitting all of the horde on the screen with her AoE is not bad. Again, you can build her semi-defensively here, and you should be able to clear out a decent number of opponents in Hero Clash. Now, I haven't pushed her all that high, so I think she'll probably top out somewhere in the League 9, League 10, but if you have her, she's not a bad option for Hero Clash. Next up is Assassin. I have him as kind of a weaker version of Bunny. Next up is Priestess. Priestess is another high damage hero that I think will do exceptionally well in Hero Clash as you get her forged up and to higher star levels. That means she's going to take some investment and take some time, but I believe that she will be a strong Hero Clash hero if you put in that time and investment. And lastly, there's Warlock. Warlock has been one of the most underrated heroes in Heroes vs. Hordes for a long time. He doesn't get a whole ton of press in Discord, on Reddit, or even by me, and it wasn't until recently where I confirmed from Mosin that he's actually a really strong hero. Now, I haven't had enough personal experience to know exactly where he stands, and you don't see him a ton in Hero Clash against other heroes, so I don't have a great feel, but I imagine, like in other game modes, he's just sleeper OP. Let me now go through my current rankings and see what I like and don't like and if I'll move anything around. I still have Warlord at number 1. I do believe that he's the strongest hero in this game mode, fully forged with 4-star levels. He'll be able to clear out the thing on farm mode. Clockwork Mage is the best premier early game hero. You don't need any forge and only 3-star levels, and as long as you play my strategy correctly, you can beat all of League 11. Now, I have to let you know that Owl from the Cakery has done this amazing deep dive into the Clockwork Mage and the ancillary special weapons you want to use to really push her limits. You can combine her with things like highly forged cow whistle, a highly forged dynamite slingshot, scrap hammer, even yo-yo, and potentially even something like Phantom Fang in order to push her to the next level. Now he's got this whole detailed guide on it I'm going to put on my website, and you'll be able to see all of his interesting weapon combinations. But know that if you have special weapons, you're basically looking for the ones that don't require cooldown. Next up is Dark Mage, who just does so much damage in this game mode, it doesn't make any sense. Necromancer I like for his ultimate defenses. Artificer, Oracle, and Warlock are all very similar heroes, where you can beat most of Hero Clash with like 3-star levels and some level of Forge. So not quite as good as Clockwork Mage, but you don't also need to invest in them crazily like you do for Warlord or Dark Mage. Next up is Werebeast and Dark Paladin. These guys are very defensive, but that combination allows them to outlast other heroes. And you know what? I think I'll put Shield Warden up here too. These are all very similar heroes with very similar playstyles. Next up in the A group is basically heroes that have a whole ton of damage, but require at least 4-star levels and a 5-star forge. So they're basically weaker versions of Dark Mage and Warlord, at least in my head. And then in the don't bother range, there are probably some stronger heroes. I feel like Trapper is actually not bad for this game mode. I imagine Puppeteer could work if you want to make him work. Somebody like Gladiator and any of the new adventure heroes with 4-star levels and a 5-star forge are not bad. I've been pleasantly surprised by Pumpkin Shade's new damage levels, again if you're willing to invest a whole ton into him. And the S tier heroes, if you can get these guys, they will push you through Hero Clash and through League 11. So, like me, you can spend like 6 months trying to get Circuit Breaker, just to make Sentry Specialist a little bit stronger. And I'm Coles, a high-level HvH player. You can become a member here on YouTube or on my Patreon for early access to content and for a monthly HvH giveaway. You can also become an executive producer. The executive producers of this video are Cake Invictus, Riverwind, The Wubba, Krabs, Charlos, Jason, Lady Ikeka, Paradox, Talanasti, Ark, Clinton, BK Ninja, Raz, Samamori, and Samar. Thank you everyone for your support, it really means a lot to me. Please subscribe if you like the content. And remember, always do your adventures!